Well, thank you for accepting this interview. You have opened the Superbet Chess Classic from Bucharest. How do you find Romania? Is not your first time here?
It's my third time here. To be precise, it's my third time in Bucharest. This time I spent more time in the country. It's almost 9 days. But still, even if it's 9 days versus 2 days, first two trips, they're all packed. Interviews and appearances, arrangements, and of course, the Grand Chess Tour, the Superbet Classic. So I have to be engaged, promoting it and making commentaries. But I'm very happy that now Romania found its place on the chess map, and with the plans of Superbet to make this event traditional, and also with the plans of Superbet Foundation to bring chess to Romanian schools, I will be visiting Romania more frequently.
You are perhaps the greatest chess player of all time, the enfant terrible of Soviet chess. You became chess champion in 1985 at the age of 22 by defeating fellow Soviet grandmaster Anatoly Karpov, the Kremlin's favorite player, and you held the title for 15 years. But today you dedicated your life to human rights and fighting Russian President Vladimir Putin. Why?
I'm fighting a Russian dictator. It's for me, it's a very important semantic difference. Because the moment you say president, people think, oh, you can just form your political party, you can run a political campaign, you can raise funds, you can do debate. Nothing of that type happens in Russia. You cannot do anything in the field of politics without full approval from Kremlin. Those who are trying to oppose, they're either forced to leave the country, as myself, either in jail, as Alexei Navalny and hundreds of others, or even killed, like Boris Nemtsov, the former deputy prime minister who was shot in Moscow in 2015. And the list of people who were eliminated by the regime, it's growing every day.
In the book that celebrated 80 years of Spartak, is not included a single mention about you. Are you worrying about how you will remain in the history of sport, and not only sport in Russia?
I'm not worrying at all about my place in sport history or history. This is not for dictators to write history books. That always happened to people who oppose dictators because that's a typical sign of any dictatorship. It's a very natural instinct to eliminate those who are against, those who have dissenting views from history books, from the pages of newspapers or publications.
You were vilified as a Western stooge in the pro-Kremlin media. Is this the classic Bolshevik compromat? What do they say about you in Russia?
Every totalitarian regime always tried to pretend that the opponents, those who are raising their voices against dictatorship, against oppression, those who are supporting democracy and basic human rights, they're working for the free world. They can change the definition of our so-called employers, but at the end of the day, it's you are part of global Jewish conspiracy, capitalist conspiracy. You work for CIA, for Mossad, for whatever. I don't care. So I just I always had my views, and I was never shy to express them.
A former KGB general said in 2007 that you are on the blacklist of Kremlin, and you are the next target. Do you afraid for your life?
Look, would it help to be afraid? Let's say I'm concerned, but I know that there's nothing I can do about it. If someone, like Putin decides that you are next on the list, it doesn't matter whether you have protection or not, you go. I just do what I believe is right. So, and that's how Soviet dissidents acted, and that's what I learned. Do what you must, and so be it. I'm trying to be cautious by, of course, not visiting places where, I could be arrested and sent to Russia. Though we know these days that, if you fly in the airspace of the country like Belarus, you could be taken away. And again, the latest act of international gangsterism committed by Lukashenko, Belarusian dictator, and I have no doubt it was fully sanctioned by Putin, because it's a message. It's basically the message they send to the world. We don't care. We can sign all the treaties, and when we want to violate it, we will do it. And when people say, "Oh, look at Roman Protasevich, the young Belarusian activist who was arrested, and now he's confessing and he's been tortured," and I hear people from the free press saying, "Oh, they're so unprofessional. They tortured him and they didn't even hide the traces of torture." What an idiocy! Or naivety! They are not hiding because they want you to see that he was tortured. This is the message. We can arrest anyone, just by landing the plane, by doing, just committing an act of international crime, and we can torture this person, and we can make him or her to confess in all crimes that were not, of course, committed. This is the illusionary crimes, and everybody should remember, there's no protection. It's just, and again, look at Europe. We are talking about the European flights, it's run by a European Irish company, flying from one EU country to another EU country. That has been hijacked. And so what's happened? Nothing. And he's being tortured. And and Europe is still, trying to, let's impose more sanctions against Belarusians, some bureaucrats. I mean, you are having a terrorist regime. This is not Hamas. This is not Al-Qaeda. This is a terrorist regime in Europe. And what are you doing? Answer is nothing. And Putin, he's taking notes.
You are the key organizer of the so-called March of Dissent street protests in 2006 and 2007. You were arrested then, you became a powerful politician voice, and even tried to run in 2008 Russian presidential election. Is now any real political opposition in Russia?
I knew that I didn't have a chance even to appear on the ballot, because they had so many bureaucratic blocks on your way. And I announced my intentions just to demonstrate that even Gari Kasparov, the man who was great fame and well-known across the country, was not able to go through even the first preliminary obstacles on the way of any opposition candidate. Yes, I was arrested, but only for 5 days. Actually, I was arrested a few times, but I spent in jail only 5 days. So there were many arrests, and then I was released and beaten. Today, for peaceful protest. And I have to emphasize, everything we did in 2005, 2006, 2007, or today it's happening in Russia, it's all peaceful. We never had any acts of violence from the sides of Russian opposition. This is not like, you see the unrest in some of the United States cities or in Europe with burned cars and broken windows and looted stores. None. The only violence on the streets of Russia was and still is from the regime, from the riot police. But today, if you are peacefully demonstrating against Putin, you could end up in jail for 5 or 10 years. You don't have to go to the street to be arrested. If you put a tweet, or you retweet something, or you repost a blog, you can easily get a couple of years in prison for simply, joining online the dissenting views. So the Russia today, and that's important for people to recognize, it's a fascist dictatorship that's do not allow any dissenting voice in the country, demands 100% loyalty from Russian citizens, and also has very aggressive foreign policy, including open invasion of its neighbors. So that's answering your question. Opposition, no. I applaud the heroic efforts of those like Alexei Navalny, who took a stand, but they're in prison. The only place in Russia where you could be opposing the regime is in prison now, or from outside of Russia.
President Biden called Putin a killer.
Yes.
You said about Putin that he is a dictator and a petty thief. But Putin is popular in Europe among some politicians. For instance, Viktor Orban in Hungary or Marine Le Pen in France. What do you know about Putin? And these guys don't know.
I wouldn't call Putin a petty thief. Petty means, it's small scale. Vladimir Putin amassed a fortune that's outgrown any political or financial fortune built in the history of human race. Directly or indirectly, he controls today amounts probably close to $1 trillion US. 1,000 billions of dollars. When you look at the Russian national budget, which he controls, when you look at the sum of the funds of Russian government, when you look at the oligarchs' fortunes, and most of them, if not all, are just following directly his orders. It's not surprisingly, we call Russia the country of appointed billionaires. So they know that the wealth depends on Putin's favor. But also this fortune depends on him staying in power, because Russia is a country where ownership means very little, if anything. The law doesn't protect you, only the power. It's like mafia state. I always say that every country has its own mafia, but in Russia, mafia has its own state. I don't think that any politician who is supporting Putin is not aware about this. You mentioned his open supporters like Viktor Orban or Marine Le Pen. There's no doubt. They are just, it's clientele. Marine Le Pen openly received funds from Russians, and she expects more to come in the next year presidential elections in France. Viktor Orban is also, I believe, has very close ties to Russia. And when he loses power, because I still believe Hungary is a democratic country, we'll know more about his clandestine connections to Putin. In Romania, Putin's influence is probably one of the least. If not, it's across Europe. So there are very few countries where Putin's cronies, Putin's political allies, they have no real say for political affairs.
You once said that Putin wants to rule as like Stalin did, but he wants also to live like Abramovich. What kind of regime is that? I mean, is Putin the only ruler, or the Siloviki and the oligarchs also control the country? Is Putin controlling the secret police, the secret services, or these guys, FSB, GRU, and so on, are actually the guys that are controlling the system?
This joke, that you recall now, it's about Abramovich and Stalin. That's very much, a description of Putin's regime. They want to control everything. They don't want any opposition, but they want to be rich. They want to live in luxury. So that's why it's not a typical dictatorship of the 20th century. There's no ideology there. It's more like a mafia that, wants raw power for living in luxury, but also to protect it by using the most oppressive measures. That's why I always reject, the sort of warnings of, if not Putin, it could be worse. No, it cannot be worse, because the most dangerous system is a system with one ruler, because it's all about him, and the system is built around him. He's a spine of the system. Yes, of course, he depends on other political forces there, whether it's KGB or GRU or other bureaucratic forces, the oligarchs, but they all know that he's all-powerful. He's like a demiurge. He can decide. We don't know the amount of money. We're talking definitely about probably a couple of $1 trillion that have been siphoned out of Russia into the free world. And the money is kept, by the way, not in China, not in Iran, not in Venezuela, but in the free world. They know where to keep the money to make them protected against potential expropriation. He always managed to protect these funds, protect the interest of Russian ruling clique in the free world, where they keep the funds, and also to protect them inside the country for whatever crimes they commit. The key element inside the system is loyalty, and they all know that. So loyalty is vital. So as long as you're loyal to the system, you can still in Russia, you'll be protected in the free world. And that's why it's very important for the leaders of the free world to make sure that the system of Putin's rule will be challenged where it's most vulnerable. It's simple advice: follow the money. So, and as long as they feel that Putin offers them the full protection, they will not go against him.
So you think Putin is a strategist? Is like a chess player? He carefully planned every move? Do you think that?
No, I never said that. So because strategy means, you have a long-term plan. Putin's an opportunist. He saw opportunities in Europe with the rise of the far-right parties, and he helped it. He saw opportunities to sow discord in America, and he did it. So he hasn't invented Trump, but he used Trump. So and now he's just, he's looking for new opportunities, because he needs to push. Dictator cannot stand still. He always needs to demonstrate that he's invincible, that he's in control. This is the way to project his power both inside and outside of the country. And Biden now is asking Putin to have a meeting summit. So Putin proved again to the world that he is indispensable. And no matter what happens on June 16th in Geneva, Putin already won this round because he had the meeting. He doesn't care what is the outcome of the meeting. As long as the US president is forced to meet him, especially after calling him a killer. And Putin, great, fantastic, I'm a killer. And you have no choice but to meet me, which means I'm in charge. Yeah, I kill people, big deal. So nobody's going to charge me for that. So I'm concerned that, as every dictator in the past, Putin could get, emboldened, more, encouraged to continue his attacks against the free world, maybe against Ukraine, maybe, again, this hybrid war against America. By the way, not surprisingly, since Biden announced that he would meet Putin, there were 2 attacks on the critical American infrastructure, one against the pipeline, one against the meat packing in the industry. Both hacking attack led to Russia. And because, American administration already announced the meeting, they tried to downplay it. I mean, hearing this nonsense from Biden that, we know that it's attacks coming from Russia, but not connected to Russian government. Are you kidding me? Anything happening in Russia not connected to Putin? Come on, but they got hostages of their own stupidity, of their own short-sightedness.
Speaking about hybrid war, why are the Russians so good in weaponizing propaganda, disinformation, fake news, compromat, Potemkin villages? How come they are so good?
You are good at anything if you have been practicing it for years. Russian intelligence services inherited it from Soviet system, from KGB. And KGB has been doing it since the beginning of Bolshevism. So for nearly 100 years, they have been specializing in promoting lies, on attacking the free world, coming up with all these fake stories. And of course, now with the new technology, they are ahead of the game. But also, it's not just, they're so good. It's just, they have political will. They don't care about the cost. They don't care about reputation. They don't have to ask, the parliament, or that they shouldn't worry about the free press going after them.
You spoke about loyalty as being the glue that keep this kleptocracy alive. The Siloviki, the oligarchs, and Putin on the top. It seems also that Putin proposed a deal to the Russians. Look, if you keep away from politics and you don't interfere in politics, I will provide you a better quality of life. Is this a real deal or is it just a presumptive deal? What the Russians really expect from the future?
Yeah, that was a kind of a deal 20 years ago. And it worked for first decade. Because of the high oil prices, Putin could provide, better living conditions for Russians. And until probably 2012, 2014, that was on the table. That was a deal that secured the social apathy of the masses of population. And that's why many of our actions, direct actions of dissent and demonstrations, they failed because majority just didn't care. But things changed. After Crimea, occupation of Crimea, annexation of Crimea, and war in Ukraine, and an open hybrid war against the free world, it's no longer the same deal. Today, it's not enough, to stay out of the politics. You have to be loyal. So the early Putin's regime was tough but authoritarian. Authoritarian means that, you don't get into politics, fine. So totalitarian means that, they have to control your thoughts. And if you are not loyal enough, you're already in danger. If you look at Russian population, at the living standards, even following official Kremlin statistics, it's not as good as 10 years ago. And that's why you see the numbers. You see the numbers that are dwindling, the numbers of support. Again, I'm not looking for some, secret polls. Official Kremlin numbers show the dramatic drop in Putin's popularity. By the way, Putin doesn't care because he has such a powerful machine behind him that he believes by feeding this machine, and we're talking about millions and millions of people, and by terrorizing the rest of the country, he can stay in power for a very long time, for him, forever.
Începem revista dezinformărilor cu rețeaua de susținători online ai primarului sectorului 4 din capitală, deconspirată de publicația Buletin de București. Jurnaliștii au identificat peste 100 de conturi false pe Facebook, de pe care primarul Daniel Băluță este susținut, apărat și elogiat, indiferent de subiectele în discuție. Trolii se ascund în spatele unor fotografii furate, de la o jucătoare româncă de volei până la o damă de companie din Israel și chiar o cântăreață din Mexic. Verificarea timp de o săptămână a postărilor pe pagina personală a primarului arată că, în medie, un sfert din comentarii sunt laude scrise de pe conturi false. Activitatea armatei de troli este însă mai amplă. Acțiunile vizează și grupurile de Facebook dedicate comunității locale, acolo unde publică articole sau postări favorabile lui Daniel Băluță. O parte din conturile cu identitate fictivă au indicat ca loc de muncă firme de îmbrăcăminte cu notorietate, un producător de cosmetice sau un studio de înregistrări. O a doua categorie sunt profilurile fără identitate, ilustrate cu animale, flori, mașini sau peisaje. Cele mai eficiente dezinformări sunt adesea croite pe circumstanțele istorice specifice unei țări sau regiuni, prin exploatarea tensiunilor sau disputelor bilaterale latente. Potrivit publicației EU versus Disinfo, tratatul de pace de la Trianon, vechi de 100 de ani, îi oferă presei pro-Kremlin de astăzi muniție pentru a semăna discordie între maghiari și ucraineni. Strategia constă în specularea a ceea ce unii numesc trauma de la Trianon, încă vie în memoria colectivă a ungurilor, de vreme ce, potrivit unor sondaje de anul trecut, 94% dintre cetățenii Ungariei consideră că Trianonul i-a nedreptățit, iar 2/3 au convingerea că părți din țările vecine le aparțin. În acest context, un prim mesaj promovat de publicațiile controlate de Kremlin este că Ungaria poate redobândi fosta regiune maghiară Transcarpatia din vestul Ucrainei, construindu-se o paralelă cu acțiunile Rusiei din Crimea și estul Ucrainei. Astfel, Ucraina ar trebui să cedeze teritoriile câștigate când a fost parte a Uniunii Sovietice, incluzând aici și Transcarpatia. Un al doilea mesaj este că, în Crimea, Rusia corectează o greșeală istorică asemănătoare celei căreia i-ar fi căzut victimă Ungaria în 1920. Unele articole fac explicit legătura între Crimea și Trianon. Site-ul pro-Kremlin Oroshirek le explică cititorilor maghiari că ucraineanul Nikita Hrușciov a dat Crimea Republicii Sovietice Ucraina, ceea ce a dus la strămutarea forțată a populației, așa cum s-a întâmplat și cu etnicii maghiari după Trianon. Cel de-al treilea mesaj fals semnalat de EU versus Disinfo este că Ucraina îi persecută pe etnicii maghiari, așa cum îi persecută și pe cei ruși. 3 americani din 4 își supraestimează capacitatea de a distinge între știrile false și cele reale, potrivit rezultatelor unui studiu realizat de universitățile din Utah și Washington. Sondajul relevă că subiecții cei mai încrezători în abilitatea lor de a nu se lăsa păcăliți sunt și cei mai predispuși la răspândirea de fake news. Același studiu mai arată că simpatizanții republicani sunt mai vulnerabili la dezinformare decât concetățenii cu vederi democrate.